Hey Credit Warriors, Credit Shuffle here, and today we have a beginner level video. What should your first 5 credit cards be? Although this is aimed at beginners, I think intermediate and advanced people may find some interesting information in here as well, even though it won't be as complete guide for them as it is for people just starting out. But anyway, let's get started. So number 1, your first credit card. Now this is going to be what I would call a tier 1 or credit building card in my 5-tier credit system. Tier 1, or actually one of these is kind of tier 2, but let's explain that. So what I recommend for your first credit card, if you just have no credit history at all, it's possible you might have to get a secure card, particularly if you're an immigrant to the country and there's not much history of you in the US. But for most people who have grown up in the US, you can normally get either the Capital One Platinum or the Discover It card as a first credit card without any credit history. Okay, so I recommend one of those 2 cards. Now, the advantages of the, I'll talk about the pros and cons of each. So the advantages of the Capital One Platinum is that you get a automatic credit limit increase after 5 months. It has better acceptance overseas since it is a MasterCard. And also it has a good selection of upgrade options, okay, for the future, okay? It's a little bit of future proofing in there. The downside of it is it doesn't earn any rewards, okay? Then we have the Discover It. The big advantage of the Discover It is because it earns cashback, okay, and it has 5% rotating categories, etc. It also has a kind of sign-up bonus, the cashback match for the first year. It doesn't have very good acceptance overseas, and it also can't be upgraded because it's Discover's highest level card, okay? Personally, I recommend the Capital One Platinum. The reason for that is for most people just starting out, climbing the credit card ladder, they don't have very high spending anyway, okay? Most people. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. So if you are an exception, you have quite high spending, you might want to consider Discover It. But if your spending is low, you're kind of wasting the year 1 cashback match, okay? So basically Discover matches all your cashback that you earn in the first year. But if you haven't spent much money on the card, haven't earned much anyway, then when they double that, it's going to be double not much, which is also not much. So, it's kind of wasting what is actually quite a lucrative sign-up bonus. So, if your spending is low, you might want to leave that for the future when you have a, higher paying job and your spending is higher, okay? So I recommend the Capital One Platinum. Now, number 2, your second credit card. Now this, I would say, would be probably a tier 2 card, okay, in my 5-tier credit card tier system, okay? So the sort of second rung on the ladder. And we're going to go for a Chase card, okay? Now, the reason for that is Chase has something called the 524 rule, which if you start reading credit card blogs and watching videos and stuff about credit cards here in the US, you're going to come across the 524 rule within a couple of minutes, all right? It's a very common thing that people talk about. And basically what it is, I'll explain it to you. If you've opened 5 credit cards across any bank, okay, but if on your credit report there's 5 accounts that have been opened within the last 24 months, Chase will not give you another credit card. They will not give you a Chase credit card. And you will have to wait until the earliest of those 5 accounts is out of the 24-month range, okay? So it's further in the past. It's 25 months in the past, okay? And then you'll be able to apply for new Chase cards because you'd only be at 424 instead of 524. So basically that's the rule. You can't apply for any new Chase cards if you've opened 5 accounts in the last 24 months, which is 2 years. So we recommend in this first 5 credit cards that some of these are Chase cards, okay? So what I would recommend for a first Chase card would be the Chase Freedom or Chase Freedom Unlimited. Also the Chase Freedom Student, which can only be applied for in branch, but if you're a student, you might be interested in that. The reason we're selecting these cards is because they're kind of the lowest rungs on the Chase ladder, all right? Realistically, when you've only had one, Capital One Platinum or something, you're probably not going to get approved for Chase Sapphire cards just yet. So you need to work on your credit score a bit better. You probably will get approved for the Chase Freedom, something like that, okay? So these are great cards to apply for. If you're applying in branch, sometimes the banker will also tell you that you can get the Chase Slate. I would not recommend this. The Chase Slate doesn't offer any rewards. Basically, its function is that it's a balanced transfer card. So it is useful later on, okay? Let's say you improve your credit score, you get a load of credit cards, and then you have some emergency where you have to spend a lot of money and you end up using a credit card like a medical emergency, something like that, and you have to put the bill on a credit card. You're like a couple of $1,000s in debt. If you get the Chase Slate, at that time you can transfer that balance over with no balance transfer fee, as long as it's within 60 days of account opening, and then you can pay 0% APR for 15 months. So that's the function of the Chase Slate. I wouldn't recommend getting it at the beginning unless you actually have a balance that you want to transfer to it, okay? Very useful card, because most balance transfer cards have a small percentage fee when you transfer over, but the Chase Slate doesn't, as long as it's within 60 days. So important remembering that for the future. Not a good first Chase card though. The Chase Freedom, Freedom Unlimited, they are kind of future-proof for a certain reason, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Now let's go for number 3, so your third credit card. Now this is going to be either a tier 2 or tier 3 card. There are a few different options for this, okay? One option is to get your first American Express, okay, for your third credit card, okay? This is what I did, and I found it to be a very good strategy. So let's talk about that. So after maybe 6, 7, 8 months with the Capital One Platinum and one of the Chase Freedom cards, your credit score should be around 700 by now, okay? Certainly if you've had your credit limit increase on your Capital One Platinum, and then I also advise to request a credit limit increase after about 6 months on your Chase Freedom, okay? We have another video about how to request credit limit increases. I'll put it on the end of this video. Your credit score should be around 700. Now, once you get to 700, American Express cards are very generous with their credit limits, okay? They're very, very generous. If you're slightly below 700, like 680, 690, you should still be able to get approved for an American Express. You may need to send in pay slips or your tax return or something just to prove your income, but you should still be able to get approved. But above 700, you're normally approved, no questions asked, and you're given very generous credit limits on Amex's credit cards. So on the Hilton Amex, which I applied for, I got a $10,000 limit, okay, which is really high for me at the time. I think my Chase Freedom was at $1,500, and suddenly I got a $10,000 limit on a, Amex Hilton card. So when you get a high limit, it really helps to increase your credit score, because it decreases your utilization, increases your overall amount of credit, etc. So great for your credit score. So that's why strategically applying for an Amex card at this time can really help, okay? Now, some examples of Amex cards you could apply for could be the Amex Everyday card, the Amex Hilton card, or the Hilton Surpass card, one of the Delta Sky Miles cards, etc. I would just recommend Amex credit cards. Don't go for the charge cards at this stage, unless you're someone who does have a bit more money and they would be useful for you. But whilst your spending is still low, we're talking like university students, etc. At this stage, you don't really necessarily want to apply for a card that's going to cost you a lot of money, okay? So I would recommend Amex credit cards at this stage. You could also consider a non-Amex card like the Citi Premier, which also currently has a great sign-up bonus. You could go for the Citi Costco card maybe if you're doing a lot of shopping at Costco. So you could consider other options, but I kind of recommend Amex cards, and there is a reason for that. So let's go on to number 4, your fourth credit card, okay? And we're gonna go back to Chase now, okay? Because like we said, for our first 5 credit cards, we do wanna ensure some of these are Chase cards, because you've only got 5 slots until you've maxed out that 524 rule, and Chase puts you in 524 jail, okay? So I would recommend another Chase card, and I would recommend one of the Sapphire cards, okay? Because this is the next step to completing something called the Chase Trifecta, okay? Chase Trifecta, if you get into reading about credit cards on blogs and stuff, you're gonna hear this phrase a lot, okay? It's kind of a buzzword in the credit card community. It's basically when you get 3 ultimate rewards earning Chase cards. So the Chase Freedom is one, the Sapphire is one, and then there's one other, normally one of the Chase Business cards. I'll talk about those later. And that makes up a trifecta, okay? 3 cards that can be used together. You can transfer points between them. So the reason that Freedom cards are kind of future-proof is because although they only earn cashback and travel through the portal, you can actually transfer those points over to the Sapphire cards, and then you can use them to transfer to airlines or book travel with increased value. 1.25 cents per point on the Sapphire and 1.5 cents per point on the Sapphire Reserve. So at this stage, I'd recommend getting a Sapphire card. For most people, I think the Preferred is better to get because it has a lower annual fee, and it also has a higher sign-up bonus, 60,000 points compared to 50,000 points on the Reserve. So what I actually recommend doing would be getting the Sapphire Preferred, waiting a year, and then upgrading it to the Reserve, because then you get the higher sign-up bonus from the Preferred, but you also eventually get the Reserve, which is the better card. It gives you airport lounge access. Effective annual fee is only $55 per year more, so it is a no-brainer to get the Reserve, but if you want that high sign-up bonus, you could go for the Preferred first. And also for some people, the Preferred obviously is easier to get. It has lower requirements. So let's say when you got your first Amex card, if they give you a credit limit of about $5,000, well, guess what? The minimum credit limit on the Preferred is $5,000. And normally Chase will like to see that you've got other cards with a similar limit before they approve you for it. So if you have an Amex with $5,000, you should be able to get the Preferred. If Amex gave you a $10,000 limit on a card, you should have no problem getting the Reserve, okay? So that's kind of why I recommend getting an Amex, because it does get you a little bit higher on the sort of credit limit train, all right? Okay, number 5, and this is your 5th and final credit card. I would recommend another Chase card because this is your 5th and final 524 slot. So after this, you're not going to be able to get any more Chase cards for probably at least another year, okay? I'm guessing it's going to take you about a year to apply for these 5 credit cards. So, you know, you'd have to wait one more year until your first card drops off of the 524 kind of section of time, and you would be able to apply for other Chase cards. So recommendations could be, you know, some of the Chase United Airlines credit cards if you use United, Chase hotel cards such as Marriott, IHG. You may want to go for a business card if you have a business, you know. So for example, the Chase Inc. Preferred, that would complete the Chase trifecta, okay? And it also has an 80,000 point sign-up bonus, which is incredible. So you could accumulate a huge amount of Chase points that way. You've got 60,000 from the Preferred, 80,000 from the Inc. Business Preferred, and then you've got all the spending you do on top of that. You could get a huge amount of Chase points that way. You could also go for other cards at this stage if you are not interested in, you know, getting a Chase card. If you're not concerned with 524, basically the world is your oyster at this stage. You could either, you know, go for city cards like City Prestige. You could go for something like the Capital One Venture, which is a really good travel card, which has a travel eraser function where you book travel with the card and then you can actually erase it using the points. You don't need to have the points there first and then book travel. So that's very useful, especially for beginners, because it's a very simple way of doing it. You don't have to look for award availability, etc. So that's basically my recommendations for your first 5 credit cards, okay? Pay attention to, you know, if you want Chase cards, you definitely want to apply for as many as you want within this 5. The first card obviously is going to be a credit building card, and then just take note about the thing with Amex in that they do give a bit higher credit limits, so it is good to get one for your probably your 3rd card to kind of boost your credit limits and boost your credit score and stuff with an Amex. Now I'll just talk about a couple more points at the end of this video. Do remember that closing early accounts can harm your credit score because it's going to reduce your average age of accounts, reduce your overall credit, all that kind of stuff. So we don't recommend closing early accounts at this stage, but you can look at upgrade options. So for example, your Capital One Platinum, it doesn't earn any rewards, okay? We told you not to worry about that at the beginning because many people aren't spending that much at that time anyway. It's better just to focus on building your credit. But once you do have a load of other cards that earn rewards and stuff, you're probably never going to use that Capital One Platinum. So what you can do is upgrade it, do a product change. You just phone up, say, hey, have I got any product change options? Now, I was able to upgrade mine to the Capital One Quicksilver. Other product change options can also include Capital One Saver and the Capital One Venture, which we talked about just a moment ago. So for your first credit card, if you did get the Capital One, you can look at the upgrade options, discover it doesn't have upgrade options. So that's also one advantage of the Capital One card. Now we have number 2, so upgrade options for your second credit card. If you did get the Freedom or the Freedom Unlimited, obviously you can upgrade to the Sapphire. You may want to do that, or you may want to get the Sapphire as a separate account on your, for your 4th credit card. Now number 3, if you did get an Amex card for your number 3, basically any card can normally upgrade to any higher card within its sort of system, okay? So if you got the Everyday, you should be able to upgrade to the Everyday Preferred, slightly better earning rates, etc. If you got the Hilton Honors card, you should be able to upgrade to the Hilton Surpass, which has, normally Amex will actually give an upgrade bonus when you upgrade within the Hilton family. It's kind of a special thing of the Hilton cards with Amex, etc. So you kind of understand the thing. You can upgrade within that series of cards. Now for number 4, if you did get the Sapphire Preferred, you can upgrade it to the Sapphire Reserve. Okay, very simple. We already talked about it. And number 5, again, if you did get another Chase card, you should be able to upgrade to any card within that system. So if you got the United Chase card, you can upgrade to a higher level United card. And if you got any other Chase card, you should be able to upgrade within that system too. So basically, using upgrades, if you feel that some of your early credit cards are not that lucrative, you can use upgrades to get better earning potential on those cards. Just remember, under most cases, if you upgrade, if you product change, you don't get a sign-up bonus. Big exception of that would be the Amex Hilton cards, where you get an upgrade bonus. And from time to time, other cards can do things like that as well. Now, lastly, I'm just going to make a note about Amex Charge cards. So Amex Charge cards, I don't generally recommend them for your first 5 credit cards, but there are going to be some exceptions, and that's going to be people who already have quite a high income. Okay, because we're kind of aiming this video at younger people who are just getting on the credit card ladder. Maybe you've just finished university, you got your first job, maybe you're still a student, don't have high spending. Amex Charge cards, generally they require higher annual fees and higher spending and actual more frequent travel to make them lucrative. Okay, so for example, the green card is $95 a year, the gold card is $250 per year, and the platinum card is $550 a year, and the black card is $2,500 a year. But we're not talking about that because most people aren't eligible for that anyway. But just the first 3 of the charge cards, so they have higher annual fees, and they also have, when you have like the airline credit from the Amex Platinum and the Amex Gold, for example, they're harder to use, okay? You can't buy gift cards to use them. It really is incidental fees, lounge access, that kind of stuff. So basically it's harder to use. It's harder to claw that money back as opposed to other, credit cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, etc. It's relatively easy to offset the annual fee by using the travel credit, etc. So, charge cards, you have to pay them in full every month. That shouldn't be a problem to people, but they do have higher fees and they do have harder to use perks, which might mean that they're not so suitable for beginners. The exception to that would be if you do have a high income and if you do travel a lot, they may be right for you. All right, guys, so that is my video on the first 5 credit cards that you should consider getting. Okay, of course, we didn't say specific cards for every level, but we gave some suggestions. You can alter this to tailor it to your own situation. So I will put a couple of my favorite credit cards in the links below. So we have the Capital One Platinum, which is a great starter card. Feel free to click and learn more about it below. And also the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is my credit card of the month. It's a 60,000 point sign-up bonus right now for $4,000 worth of spending in the first 3 months. So feel free to click and learn more about that one as well. As always, they are affiliate links, so they help out our show. And if you want to see advertiser disclosure, it's in the bottom of the description section. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this video interesting. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe if you're new. Give this video a like. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.